Morning, everyone, or anyone. Who,
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you. Well, it's the same old thing we talk about all the time. Why do we talk about the same thing all the time? Because there isn't any time. It's always the same. There's only the one thing anyway. And most of us go off on a tangent thinking there is time and there is something to acquire or to get, and the stories keep carrying on and on and on. But non-duality, meaning one with a second, without a second, which means there's not even one, is the simplest thing in the world, in the universe. The one God, the one essence, the one life, or the soul. It's S-O-U-L, S-O-L-E, or the onely, O-N-L-Y, or put an L in front of that, it's the lonely. So it all points to the one. And when it's investigated, it's seen. And they say, they tell you that, the people that have understood or grasped or recognised, so-called people who recognise it, will all point toward it. And so it needs to be recognised by each and every thing that's seemingly other or doesn't recognise it at the moment. And the Buddha told us of that when he called it a cognising emptiness. We think, we as these so-called humans, these so-called persons, are cognising or knowing the emptiness. But it's not that we are at all, because the we, the you and I, and every pattern, shape and form are all things. All things, different patterns, shapes and forms, appearing in that emptiness which is suffused with the cognition or the knowing. It's the emptiness that's cognising. And the Buddha put it quite simply when he said, the emptiness is form. I don't know whether there was a Buddha or whether there wasn't. Especially in many of the texts, just the same as they will use the term still to emptiness is form, meaning that it's that emptiness which is cognising or knowing and expressing, patterning, shaping as all these forms. And you and I, the tree, the flower, the sky, the space, are all forms, all things. And they point out again that there is no thing. And we say that in a quick way, we say nothing. Put it together and we think the nothing is a vacuum or a void. And we won't notice or know these things. But that's what it means though, is no thing. And every pattern, shape and form is a thing. The chair is a thing, the table is a thing, you are a thing, the flower is a thing. All things. And what label discriminates them from the totality is the labels we put on them. Instead of saying it's all no thing, or the one essence appearing in there, we put different labels or words on them. Into the discriminated, into the 10,000 thing. That's just a rough outline of what they call the 10,000 things.
Yeah.
But the 10,000 things are all though thing appearing as other. And the discrimination is the word. That's the aim. Yeah. Discriminate a tree from a flower, or a plant, or a dog from a cat, or one human being from another. Or putting different labels on. Now, where do these labels come from? Words. What are words? Sound, aren't they? Every word you speak, isn't it a sound?
Yes.
What's a sound? Sound isn't a sound of vibration. And isn't a vibration a movement or a movement of energy or an activity? And that activity or that energy I call intelligence energy. I don't use the term God because God's just a word or a label also. Because look at the different traditions and religions. How many different words have they got for the God, for the name of God? But the name or the label or the tag on it is not what it is. But non-duality means one without a second, not two. I'm pointing out again that it's all the one. And so, and there can't be other without the one. And there can't be the one without the other. So though they're appearing and vibrating and patterning in the interrelated opposites, they are not opposite. It's all, if you know, I use the term, no one-ended stick. Like every stick you've got in a house wall you make, will have two ends on it.
Yes.
But it's still the same stick. So it's still the same essence that's vibrating in a pattern, shapes and form. Like the North Pole and the South Pole. Can you separate them? They're still the same essence. And where do they meet? At the equator, at the equalness. But it's all the one essence appearing and expressing as everything. And what do they call it? They call it that. That's the great mantra, or the label. I am that. You are that. This is that. Everything is that. Innately, we know. Because you say that's the chair, that's the tree, that's the flower, that's you, that's me. We know it's all that essence appearing as others. But other things that we've labelled, where it tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. That's all that God is a label we put on, a word we put on, the absolute one essence that's patterning, shaping and forming as everything. It is absolute, totality, complete and utterly, total, undivided. In Buddhism they call it the great perfections. Great perfection is the same. What can you add to the perfect? What can you take away from the perfect? Okay. Would it be perfect if you could add something to it? It would be. Would it be perfect if you could take something away from it? That's the same with the absolute. Would it be absolute? So nothing can be added to it. Nothing can be taken away. And how comes it seemingly separate? Well, it is not recognised in its true nature. It's recognised in the vibrating patterns in which it expresses. And those patterns are vibrating in an intelligent way. A tree is an intelligence pattern. A flower is another intelligence pattern. This body, with all its nerves, sinews, heart, lungs, everything is an intelligent pattern. Everything, trees, the planets, the stars, are all vibrating in an intelligence way. So I call it, instead of using the term God, which is a label, I put another label, intelligence energy. Intelligence is not your intellect, because there are different degrees of intellect. Some are
A lot of you will be a lot smarter than what I am. Some of you mightn't be quite so smart, but it's all, that's what the intellect is. The conceptual image we have in how smart we think. But intelligence is the activity of knowing. Look out there in nature and you'll understand. All that appearance is a patterning intelligence for the space, the emptiness, the sky, the sea, the clouds, the continents, the islands, all vibrating in intelligent shapes and forms. Some of the vibrations might seem more static than others, but everything breaks down and changes if you put that concept of time on it. But if you see the concept of time, it's just another concept. And there is actually no duration, no time. It's all a spontaneous functioning, all happening, ever fresh, and ever in the immediacy, ever present. Called presence awareness. Intelligence energy, the activity of knowing. And see that this pattern you call you is suffused with innate intelligence, that innate vibrating pattern. And the organs, the heart, the lungs, the brain, the sinews, enable those patterns to vibrate in words, which we've learnt the labels for. And we can, intelligence, look into it, describe it, or all sorts of things with it. But we think we, as the separate entities, the individual persons, are doing it. But it is the innate intelligence that's doing it itself, innately. Means we know it already. Like if you ask, and you see that thinking is the problem, as Shakespeare told you. Nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Now, so thoughts vibrate into words, sensations, thoughts, feeling and emotion, vibrating in three different aspects of the vibration. Thought's very subtle. The thought can come up and you mightn't realise it's there for a little while. Then we vibrate a little bit louder and a feeling will come up or a sensation. And this sensation we put the label on as anger, fear, happiness, depression, guilt, shame, remorse, jealousy, envy. We've labelled all these sensations, put names on them. And then that's being there long enough and that sensation will vibrate into emotion. Instead of being the essence anymore, it's now become the physical, because the emotion is felt in the body, felt in the physical. You know what it is, the anger, the fear, depression, which you've labelled that. But we're putting a label, which we've learnt about it, that would label it years ago. Our parents might have told us that tantrum gets on, or that actuality, that emotion, the seeming emotion is going, that one's fear, or you're angry. And instead of seeing it fresh and new and looking into it, investigating ourselves, we've relabeled that sensation forever after as fear or anger. So you see, no wonder, see why it becomes troubling then. No wonder, because we're labelling a dead sensation. It's expressing in a similar way, but it's always fresh and new. It's not the same old one, but we're putting the old label on it because it's pattern, shapes and forms and expresses in the same way as that emotion. So we're putting it dead, we're living from a dead image, and that's why we can't keep up with life, because life is ever fresh, ever new, it's spontaneous. Life is love, the love of being, the joy of being. And when we put the old label on it, we're trying to keep up. And because we can't keep up, we think, I've got to become. I've got to become one. I've got to become that person. I'm going to get rid of this person. I've got to meditate and do all sorts of things to acquire it, to get it. It's a pretty hard job, isn't it? How much success have you had of getting it? By going and doing all these activities. Or if you might have resonated with something and relaxed into it, and there it is. It's there in the immediacy, without the old label, fresh and new, and it might, you put another label on it, it might be very joyous, and it might be very happy, and it might be very wonderful. We put the old label on it, it's fear, anger, depression, guilt. And that's what they say about the oneness. It's non-dual. Some questions?
Yeah, I got a question. This is a question from Mukti. Are thoughts and emotions just part of the intelligent pattern? They just don't have an intelligence that is discernible sometimes?
Yes, they're all, every thought is a vibration, whether you recognize the intelligence in it or not. It's a movement, a vibration of energy. And the amazing way it vibrates, as sound, as word, as things, as everything else implies, it is diffused with an intelligence. If there was no intelligence with it, what would it be? And we mightn't recognise the sensations, but look into them, you'll know what they are.
Yeah, she puts a wink on it, that the intelligence, that thoughts have intelligence that is discernible. And Tanya has two questions. Will resistance always show up when it seems there is no one here? And how will I know I have really seen there is no separate self? How will I know I'm living as the truth and not as an image?
You have any problems? Have any fear, or things become hard? Or how you know all right when there's a pain or something? The knowing is there. The innate intelligence diffusing that pattern is the knowingness, or the awareness, if you like to call it. And what was the first part of it?
Will the resistance always show up, even when it is seen there is no one here?
Yes. Yes. If there wasn't its opposite, how could anything be cognised, or known, or recognised without its opposite? Okay. That's how the manifestation functions, day and night, winter and summer.
Yeah.
Good and bad, pleasant and painful, happy, sad, love and hate. When no discriminating thoughts arise, as it says in Hien Sing Ming, the old mind ceases to be.
I'll add to it if you...
Yes.
Yes, so I would add to the... I had a thought about the resistance, but you've already answered it, yeah. Well, the best way is to always look at nature, because animals don't have the image of themselves that they relate to. And do you see animal in resistance? It is fully enlightened. I mean, it doesn't need to be enlightened because it wasn't endarkened by the conceptual self. So if you see that there is, let's say, the animals are fighting, or they are in stressful situation and the resistance come up, it means it's natural. So the resistance, whatever shows up, is always natural. The story about it is also natural, but not necessary, because the story caused the suffering. And another one, when you see, how will I know? You won't, because there won't be any you to know, but there won't be any doubts. The thing is, as long as there is a question, am I already enlightened, or am I still an image, or am I a nature, or am I image? Who's asking the question? That already suggests that there is still some sort of a lingering relating going on. When there is no conceptual self, the question just doesn't arise. I don't have questions. Am I this, or am I that? Am I already that? Or no, it just doesn't. I have absolutely zero interest to find out what I am, because I just am. It's no shape or form to me that needs to be somehow obtained or verified or...
How will you know? There is knowing there already. That's all there is knowing. Not anybody, not a person that's knowing. Because that's what it is. Sat Chit Ananda, existence, consciousness, loving to be. Existence is being, consciousness is knowing or awareing, if you like to use that term, and you love to be. It's already there. There's already the knowing there, but it's discriminated by the word.
Yeah.
Okay. And day and night, that's darkness and light. You know, does darkness know anything about light? Well, it doesn't, because it is the absence of light. Does light know anything about darkness? It doesn't, because it's the absence of darkness.
Yeah, so that's a beautiful answer. I just reiterate it. You already know when you don't have a story. You already know that you are. When you want to know what you are or who you are, you're already back in the head.
Yeah.
But the knowing is there. Without the thought, the knowing is there.
And your being also, you know, you don't have to know what you are, who you are. You are pure being.
Yes. Yeah, the being, absolutely. Yeah, without the story of who you are, you already are. You already are being. So when the question comes, am I this or am I that? Stop thinking. Pause the thought. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? And in that moment, you're back home.
Which you never left.
Which you never left, of course. Yeah, only conceptually. You can only imagine you are somewhere else. You can only imagine you are in the head or in the story. You're always here now.
And then that statement of Nisargadatta comes true if you're imagining, because he says nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. It's the imagination that's causing the problem.
Yes.
Imaging it, forming images of objects, subjects, objects, images. And all that images are reflections.
Yes.
You've got to have a reflecting surface. And what are they appearing on? The cognising emptiness. Which is, those forms are emptiness, but they are images, reflections.
Yep. Go back to your spiel. I see if there is more questions on this one. Yes, there is. Yeah, my phone is not refreshing it, so that's it. How am I going to get that one? Yes, I got some more questions now. So, yeah, funny way it works. So one says, Heyman says, please notify the darkness is light. Everything is one. Yeah, we only label it, divide it conceptually. The story is necessary for suffering. Heyman, yes, absolutely. Try and suffer without the story. Amarnath, Nisargadatta Maharaj said we were only love itself, manifesting as many, but we were hating and loving some people. Yeah, it's all matter of frequency. You know, you resonate with some music and you don't resonate with another music because your pattern is kind of, it's part of nature. Animals have it too.
And that's when you realise that you're loving and hating just patterns. There's nothing really there.
Yeah, you're not even doing it. It's your body-mind doing it. You, as the space-like awareness, you just hold space for it to happen. And Luca, hi Bob and Kat. Sometimes reading Nisargadatta, I get confused when he refers to the absolute state at prior to consciousness or prior to I am.
Yes. Yes. It is. Well, the absolute is another term you can use for its awareness. Absolute is totality. Absolute. You can't add anything to it. Can't take anything away from it. But you can take all the appearances out of it, and it's still the absolute.
Yeah.
The appearances are only seemingly appearing in it. What was the question?
Yeah, he gets confused when Nisargadatta talks about the absolute state prior to consciousness or prior to I am.
Yeah. Well, what's there first? Are you have a look at that. Are you unaware right now? No, you are aware. Now, consciousness appears in that awareness. Now, consciousness is purely and simply existence. And that existence is totally aware that it exists. Now, onto that existence comes other patterns, shapes and forms. So they're all appearing on it, but the awareness, or the absolute, is the basic space or screen on which everything appears. And it's no thing that you can grasp with a concept, because it would take itself out of the absolute if it did. That's why it forms all the patterns, shapes and forms to express through, and puts words or labels in them to label and differentiate them. Because being absolute, it's just like the pure mirror, if you like. What can it do of itself? Nothing. But it has the capacity of reflecting in it, though it does nothing to say, now I'm going to reflect or stop reflecting. Its nature, or its essence, or whatever its ability, is to reflect.
Yeah.
And if there wasn't vibrations or seeming energy rippling around it, or whatever you like to call it, or that seeming energy is moving, but it's not really. It's just a sort of shimmering or subtle vibration. And then if that wasn't there, how could patterns form?
Yeah, that's a beautiful way of saying it. I think the confusion when listening to different descriptions is sometimes intentional, because when you are confused, you're not trying to grasp it with your mind, or you can't grasp it with your mind. You try to grasp it. What does he mean by that? And you can't, and you're confused. That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
And what Bob was just saying, that basic screen on which the I am appears. If you can grasp the screen, okay, then step back and say the basic screen on which the screen appears. Always step back to any conceptual sort of trying to grasp it as a concept. Step back on which that concept appears. The one that is prior to absolutely everything is the true nature, or is the absolute. Prior to everything.
Yeah. And how would you do it? Well, you look in the mirror and take a cue from there. Go and try and grab an image out of the mirror.
Yeah.
Or a reflection. You can't. Because all you'll do is grab the mirror.
Another one.
And then you must realise it's futile trying to get it through the reflection.
Yeah.
Because the reflection doesn't exist. But the mirror is there completely, totally, and always full of reflections. There's never any space in it without a reflection. The mirror in this room, it looks like there's a big empty space in it, but it's still reflecting that empty space. That's a reflection. There's not a point in that glass without a reflection in it. It's got the reflecting back surface on it.
Yes, what else does it say? Yes, so it is prior to everything. Prior to consciousness, prior to awareness, prior to mirror, basic screen, prior. It's just prior to even any sort of concept, because it's non-conceptual.
And
so we limit it with words.
That's absolutely perfect, as it is.
Another one. What do you want now? Come down.
And even though the patterns,
the reflections or images that appear on it seem to break up that perfection, but they don't. They can never touch it because they're all appearing in it.
Yes, so Armanath says, why fear and desire doesn't disappear completely after self-realization?
Well, everything can still be there, and it's still only appearance. Who takes delivery of it? If there's someone that takes the delivery of it, it'll be a problem. But left as it is, like everything else, it's constantly changing. It's constantly changing. Left as it is, it'll move along, move on. Something else will come up. Like it didn't stay a little baby forever. Gradually changed into a young boy or girl, a youth, a young man or old man, and right. It's constantly transit, constantly changing. So fear, desire, all these things we labelled, take the idea of fear off, the label off, and desire off. What is it? See that sensation like every other sensation, if you see it, fresh and new, without putting our label on it. Instead of seeing it as fear, this might be a sudden urge that you've got to do something about this. You've got to get out of it somewhere or other. And the appropriate activity will take. Or I want this, or I don't want that.
What actually does disappear in self-realization is the judgment that fear and desire are wrong. When we believe that the summer is good and winter is bad, or day is good and night is bad, light is good and darkness is bad, then of course we want the darkness to disappear, the winter to disappear. But if you don't have the idea that there is anything wrong with fear and desire, they are welcome, just like everything else, and they're impersonal. And if not for the fear, the body would probably die somewhere along the way. It's a survival instinct.
And that was good when you said impersonal. If they are the personal, then that's when they become the problem.
That's right.
Because the separate entity, the individual, his desires has got to have this, or wants it, or I fear this. I've got to get away from it, you know.
Yeah.
But in its totality, what does the universe fear when the tsunamis are going on and planets are imploding and exploding and stars are falling out of the sky or doing whatever they're doing?
Yeah. The chance is that without desire, the body wouldn't last too long either, because if you had no desire to eat, perhaps you could turn breatharian, but what if not? It's just the only problem when we make it.
Part of the functioning.
Yes. And now.
But impersonal. That's good.
Stanley says the key is to stop thinking. Don't even have to stop thinking. It's just stop taking thoughts too seriously. Like they can still go on, but if nobody listens, it's like a radio in the background. Doesn't have to stop it.
No vested interest in them.
Yeah.
Not taking delivery of them.
Yeah, just understand them for what they are. They're just background noise. They're just commentary. Luca, could you say something about it? Could you say something about it?
Which?
Yeah, that.
That?
Yes.
You can say all sorts of things about it.
But none of it is going to be true.
Or say nothing. It is everything, and it is the no thing. It's a absolute. Is a good term. Just as it is. Is meaning not was or not will be, but what is going on right in this immediacy. If you like to call this immediacy. You can't say that's a moment either. In this spontaneous, seeming activity, which is expressing in this so-called moment.
Cliff says, morning Bob and Kat, I'll be with you here for a little while. Love to you both and all here now. Yes, all here now.
Who was that?
Cliff. Heyman, last night I was swimming in the ocean And as long as I was swimming in the ocean, there wasn't any one swimming. It was only ocean swimming in itself. And when I finished, my swimming came out as ocean, individualized, as human body mind. Beautiful. Yeah, everything's included. The impersonal sort of just plain wave of being, or
Yeah.
just...
Well, when you merge into the absolute, just the same as you merged into the ocean.
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and emerging as individualized human body mind. How beautiful is that? Ocean doesn't have ears and eyes and skin to actually feel itself. But individual's body mind has all those faculties, so it can experience such a variety of thrills. Tanya, the doubting is only a thought, no one doubting, only a thought appearing, saying there is doubt.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rohan. Yeah, absolutely. Tanya, not sure if my comment posted before, how do you look at doubt? Oh yeah, we didn't see that comment. I must have missed it, or maybe it didn't. Maybe you didn't click enter. Yeah, that's exactly how we look at doubt. Yeah, I guess my phone is not refreshing everything also. I'll just try.
Again, doubt's a concept. But who is the doubter?
Yeah, yeah.
That's the thing to look at, not the doubt, but who's having it or believes. Is it a separate entity? Is it a person? Is it a visual? Or is that so-called doubting just another concept?
Oh yeah, but Rohan just said exactly the same thing. He just, as if you were reading his comment. Yeah, who is the doubter? Who's the one doubting? Yeah, brilliant, beautiful. And then Tanya says, Bob, could you talk about death, please? Not Tanya, sorry, that was from Sally. Yes, not all the comments show up here. Could you talk about death?
Death.
Death.
What is death? Only that which was born can die. Can you remember your birth? No. Can you remember your start? What were you when you were in the womb? What were you before that? Can you remember which one you were, a sperm or an ovum or a bit of each? Or can you remember which food or plant or made up that sperm for an ovum form in the different bodies? And what were you before? Were you the plant or were you anything?
Yeah.
So where do you begin? And where can you end? The different patterns, concepts will come along, but what is lost? Only the concepts, the ideas. When you had no words, you had no concepts, were you worried about death at all? You didn't have any words. Were you worried about life? Was there any concern at all? Till we learnt words. The sensations would come up, play around and disappear. Just the same as the same thing going on right at this moment. Earth's rolling around the sun. And it'll be dark in some places, light in others, cold in some places, warm in others. But when did it begin? It can't pinpoint a time when it began. The physicists will try and say it was billions of light years away.
No.
But the Big Bang, but what enabled that Big Bang to happen? What was there then that formed it? Was it gases, electrons, neutrons, or whatever? And what was before that? Patterns, shapes and forms appear, play around and disappear. Appearance and disappearance are constantly seeming to happen. But is there a beginning to one or an end to the other? Try and find a static point anywhere. No static point, no beginning. How can there be an ending? Now that's people talk about eternity, and most of us think eternity started with this Big Bang or beforehand. And so anything that has a beginning will have an end, and that's not eternal. Eternity has no beginning and no end. And isn't that spontaneous knowing that you are right now? When does now begin? You can't say it's beginning, it's spontaneous. When is it ending? You say right now. Spontaneous, so it's got no duration. It's continuing to happen, spontaneously. A subtle seeming somewhat of a movement of energy, a pulse or a throb or a expander, whatever they like to call it, different labels they put on it. But it's just a vibration.
I'll just add one image, which is totally also Bob's image. I learned that from Bob. Is the image of death of the body. It could be human body or animal body. Or you try and find death, and you find the same what physics already knows, that energy cannot be annihilated. It can only change form. So now the energy that is animating the organs, the heart, make it beat, make the body breathe, now the same energy is now decomposing the body. So it creates different other organisms, bacteria, maggots, whatever it is, and those are breaking the body down. There is still life there. There is a lot of life there. It's just changing form. The life has different form right now. So, the illustration of billion light years, that's a distance, but billion years ago, where everything started, where the ancestors of the ancestors started procreating. There is no beginning or end to life, because it's all flow. But what is probably more of a concern for a seeker is the idea of death, because death is a concept, the concept of non-existence. That concept cannot be conceived of. Mind cannot imagine its own non-existence. And it frightens it, it scares it. But we all go to sleep at night, where the mind stops. Or people go to coma and the mind stops. There are certain drugs which cause the mind to stop for a little moment, some for 1 minute, some for 15 minutes or whatever. And life goes on, the presence, the being, even if it's not recorded, even if it's not remembered, is there. And those situations don't frighten us. Deep sleep doesn't frighten anyone. But the concept, terrifying, unimaginable concept, that's what frightens us. But there is no death if you try to find it. It can't be found. It's only in the head. It's not even, it's just, it's an abstract concept, because it doesn't even have image.
It's all constantly changing and changing spontaneously. Years ago, I used to tell this story before, I decided to go back to the town that I was brought up in, where I lived, went to school and all that. And I went up there, and I was standing I'd walk down the street, had a look and see how everything had changed. And I was going back waiting for a train to leave. And realised that the very platform I was standing on was different. And across the road used to be good sheds. There's nothing there. There's just double railway line. And I don't think there was even any station master now, when there was all that in the flat. And that platform was on a bit of a rise, and you used to look across the flat, and there was a creek down there on the flat. Now that creek used to flood regularly. But now it was just a gutter, because they built a reservoir up in the hills and killed the creek. Now there were some magpies warbling in the trees, but the big trees, the
big red gums that used to be there, they were gone, and there was only little shrubbery things there now. And now, could these be the same magpies that they were 20? No, they couldn't be. So they were different. The birds weren't there. Everything had changed except the space.
Yes.
The space wasn't the only thing that hadn't changed. And my body had changed. I didn't have the same body as I would.
That's right.
And most of the people, when I walked into that town, well, I think all of them had disappeared or changed. It might have been an odd one or two. But if I went back there now, there'd be nobody. I went to the school. There was about 30 pupils there, 35 pupils or something when I went to school. I went to school for its 100th anniversary, and there was over 200. And the whole school ground would have been a lot of room in it, was covered with buildings. Gyms and God knows what, courts. It was all transient, just the same as this body's changing.
Yes.
But the space was the same. The clouds that filled the space weren't the same.
He wants attention. We have another question or comment. Let me see what it is. This is from Julia. I have come to understand that nobody is doing or not doing anything. Nobody is doing anything, and all thoughts are pointing to illusions of what was or what could be. While explaining this to some people, they can get the idea but still point to the fact that Nisargadatta got imaginary cancer from the smoking he never did. You cannot release the illusion of separate me for me or anyone else. Not that you ever did that. I don't know how to answer that question. What do you two think?
Well, as you said, nobody was doing, because you're not the body. No mind. You are not the mind. It's just a spontaneous happening, movement, vibration that seemingly we take to be, well, the way it vibrates, we take it to be intelligent and all the rest of it. Yeah. But it's just, all it is seeming somewhat of a movement, a spontaneous vibrating and patterning of energy. But if we don't think there's a me doing it, think there's a me that has throat cancer, or me that's got busted up knees like I got here. You know.
The bodies do that.
Yeah, that's how the body's breaking down or doing what it needs to do. And that's the life essence that's in it. You know, it's enable it, the capacity of reason and all the rest of it, and labours all these things. It's that life essence which is doing anything, but it's not a personal life. The life itself formed that body and is expressing through it. And when this pattern is not good enough for it, it breaks down. Where does it go back into? It emerges back into life itself. And that's why the Nisargadatta could say there's only life. There's no body who lives a life. And life lives on life. For outer life, if there's only life, any outer life, that more life can only come from that life. As Kat was saying, when the body breaks down, it gets eaten by the enzymes and the worms, the maggots and all the rest. They're all life. You're getting a feed out of that life. And out of them all a different life will come. There's only life. You are the life, so take your stance there. Not the body, or not Nisargadatta's body, or anybody else's body, but you are the life. And that's how Christ told you, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself. He's not, he's talking about that life. That's what he was. Not the person, the so-called Christ, or Jesus, or whatever body, mind, navel he's got on himself. He was life itself expressing in a seeming human pattern. But the human, and then that's where we get the idea when God so-called made man in his image and likeness. We got the idea that God's in the image of man. But he made man, so-called this God, this pure intelligence energy, this activity of knowing. He formed that pattern shape, he or she or whoever it was, there's nobody. The energy itself, the life itself, formed that pattern to express through. And there's nothing can trouble you except the image, what you're imaging about it.
Yeah, but there was a good point that you can point to it, but you can bring the horse to the water, but you can't make it drink. So it has to be seen individually, so-called individually.
Yeah.
The consciousness has to recognize the truth in that particular channel. So the channel may be inspired, but the recognition has to come from the one.
And you really can't do it while the belief that there is this person there. Get back to the impersonal. Persona, the mask, that's all the personal is, a conceptual image. Without the conceptual image, what's that life that you're living now that's breathing you, beating your heart? Isn't it vibrant? Can't it be very, can't it express in its fullness, its joyousness, its love, its warmth? But then, when we give it some semblance of reality, of truth, it can express in all the other ways too. The sun, whether it's covered by clouds or not, is forever shining, self-shining, ever fresh. And this essence that you and I are, without the obscuring clouds of thoughts, feelings, emotion, are always ever fresh and self-shining. Not creating or formulating any images.
Yeah, there is a comment from Rohan. Bob, love the pointing to the place of no concern. We also experience this naturally every night in sleep. Neither life nor death nor time have any meaning during sleep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Heyman says sleep is the most truthful part of many's life. Or maybe not, I don't know. And no one to know or not know, Rohan says to Heyman. Now where are we? That which is never dies, Jesse said.
Yeah. Yes.
My imagination is filled with the gratitude for you too. Thank you, Julia. Imagination. Yeah, you could actually, if you take the label off, you can feel it raw in your body. It doesn't have to be in the imagination. It's quite a sweet feeling. I know you know that. Me is resistance. I am life. Thus.
Yes.
Beautiful. Ben says, it seems that at certain point trying to understand what anyone really means by the absolute or intelligence energy or awakeness is just an attempt to visit not here. Bravo. Beautiful. Any attempt to grasp it with the mind, to try and imagine what they mean, totally is just betraying this fresh and new moment of here now, where the knowing is already so present and so evident.
That's why they say leave it as it is.
Yes.
Unaltered, unmodified, uncorrected.
Yes.
No preference, no partiality, no comparison. Just as is. And is means this immediacy.
Tanya says, go on.
That's it.
Of course, without the thought, I already know. Thoughts have been fixated on that. Say, I don't know it already. Thank you.
Yes.
Heyman, the reason why we cannot add or take anything from life is because we are life.
That's what I've been saying, yeah.
Cliff says, can't stop thinking, but no one needs to chase those thoughts. Yeah, exactly.
The thinker is the thought.
Yeah.
The thinker can a thinker chase a thought? Can't.
Yeah, but that's what we habitually do.
That's right. Yeah.
The attention goes into the content of thinking.
And that's the whole
rather
problem.
than- yeah.
We think we're going to find the answer in the mind.
Yeah. Yeah, the solution is to just see how seeing is just one capacity or space of seeing. It is happening within that seeing. The objects, the bodies, the eyes all happen. And the same way there is a space, a sphere or capacity of thinking. And within that capacity of thinking, the thinker, the thoughts, all of it just happen. But be aware of the whole sphere or space, and then you don't have to conceptualize the object and the subjects. Just see how the body responds.
And realise you don't have to be aware.
It's already there.
So
yeah, awareness already there, absolutely. And
so you're harmonised already.
yes. And yeah, I have all those comments in different times. Tanya, there is no person, no one here. There was a comment in Facebook non-duality group that as long as there wasn't being at peace all the time, that means I am taking myself to be separate. I couldn't have misunderstood. Not sure. It's not a whole word. Misunderstood what they were pointing to, though. Laughing. I just need to trust the clarity that is already here. Yeah, this is the common expectation or belief that when you are enlightened, you are in bliss, in peace, in pleasure, in love, in gratitude. Show me the animal who lives like this.
Yeah.
Because that's the natural state. If you show me the traumatized dog or monkey that is not fighting for the territory or is not upset when someone pull its tail, yeah, sure, okay. Then
How did Nisargadatta express it?
there you go, yeah.
Just said there's nothing wrong anymore. Didn't mean to say these things weren't going on,
Exactly.
but there's nothing wrong. It wasn't right or wrong. It was just as it is.
Or you can even look at this common stories about enlightened beings like Jesus getting pissed off with the guys doing some marketing in a temple. Like, yeah, quite furious resistance. And I can't imagine, like, why would we even need to? Being at peace is already there, present all the time. And within that peaceful, empty space of no vibration, the world appears. It doesn't mean that this world will be somehow deprived from experiencing more vivid emotions. That would be unfair. Nobody would want to be incapable of having really nice, beautiful outbursts of a juicy anger, because if you are not capable of that, you're not capable of the opposite either.
Realise as long as the mind's there, and it'll always be there unless you get Alzheimer's or what's the other, dementia or something like that.
Yeah.
There'll never be peace.
Actually, with Alzheimer and dementia, there is no peace either.
Yeah.
It's just a different...
Yeah,
unless you're in coma.
The peace is when the mind is not.
Yes.
That's why they call it the peace that passes all understanding. Means it can't be understood by the mind or concept, can't be grasped. It's when the understanding, just the pure understanding is there, then that's when the peace is there.
Yeah, it's when you understand that you don't have to identify with the emotion that surfaces up. You don't have to identify, like, let's say you find yourself, I remember that was in Nisargadatta's book, or one of the talks you told me, when somebody asked him a question, if there was a fight, would he find himself going and stopping it? He says he had no clue. Perhaps he would find himself joining it. He doesn't know. He doesn't know how his body is conditioned to respond in certain situation. Maybe if the child was involved, he would behave differently, or adult, who knows? Nobody knows that. And that's the spontaneity. But do I have to create identity that this is me here fighting against them? I don't have to do that. The body will do the fighting, the body will do the yelling, shouting, the body will do all that it is conditioned to do. but my identity can rest as the uncontrived singularity, the emptiness, space-like emptiness. Whatever the body, the thoughts, the feelings, doesn't really matter, because I don't construct identity which makes me believe that they are my thoughts, my actions, my feelings. I am still the space in which all of it happens. And in this way, I am always at peace. But you look at the body-mind, and the body-mind is jumping up and down and shouting, screaming, whatever it does. So it is a deeper meaning to it, but like in a common language, the way it is understood, it is rather misunderstood, because you expect just a constant peace and bliss, and that is unknown in nature. Sally, this we have been here, it was about death. Believe me, Bob and Kat, there is only life, as Bob always suggested during 45 years. Yeah, there is only life. Now you know. Wonderful. Yeah. And Pesto doesn't know he is a Pesto. yeah, and he is...
well, he's not. He's alive.
He's alive. He's alive, yes. Pesto is a cat. Bob called him Pesto because he lovingly... very, very lovingly and gently called them a pests, but it doesn't really sound right when you love someone, so Pesto is sweeter. Megan, if people perceive threat, do you think that concretizes the self-center, or is it vice versa? When people perceive a threat, does that concretize self-center, or is that vice versa?
Is there a self-centre there to concretize? When you're not going to believe in it, if it's, if it's taken on board, the threat, the response to it, or the activity that comes about from it will happen.
Yeah, it depends how strong the habit is, because if you see the wolf in the forest perceiving a hunter with the dogs, it sees the threat. Does it concretize self-center? No, it doesn't. It just does whatever instinctively the body does. It runs or it fights. If the person in the same situation has very, very strong habit of rather going to the head and creating a story than fight or flight, then it happens. But it's just happening in the imagination.
And the thing to do, if it's happening, try and find that self-centre.
Yeah. Or perhaps just drop it and run if you see the threat of fight. I don't know. It's of course it's not in your hands what you're gonna do. You'll just have to discover what the body does. Dana says it is unknowable. It is unknowable.
Who's saying that?
Yeah, the unknowable is saying it is unknowable. You are unknowable. Absolutely, that's true. Please notify the darkness is light. Heyman says, I think we've been there before. And we have Taku says something in a language. Good morning. Yeah, it was something in a language in Japanese.
Taku?
Yes.
I haven't heard from Taku for years.
No, we didn't see you, Taku, but we see you online. We see him on...
He came here years ago.
Yes, he did. Yes, a few times. And Tanya, the doubting is only thoughts. We've been here. I wonder if I can refresh it and have some more. Oh gosh, yeah, it is just kind of doing funny things, sorry. Newest. Tanya says, I don't expect constant peace and bliss. I can see that it is not possible. That is not what appears. Many sensations and thoughts appear simply because they do. It is all just happening like you say.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Oh, Bill. Hi, Bill. Hello, Bob and Kat. Thank you. This is my first time on Facebook. What a joy. And thank you, everybody, for your contribution. Love to all. Yeah, wonderful to have you here.
After you, Bill, yeah.
Yes. There is no creation, no creature, and no creator. Same, I'm quoting you. And yeah, Megan says, I laughed then. Yeah, I usually have that response too. I got slapped in the face a couple of times as a kid. Kat, thank you. I really needed to hear that today. Thank you, that's John. And Dana, I'm not talking to any mind. I am talking to that I am. I am not talking to anybody. Yes.
That I am is the sense of presence. The awareness of being present.
And no naming, no claiming. No one to name, no one to claim, Jane. That's right. Paula, for me it is like everything has two parts. Neither must be labeled good or bad. Absolutely. Yeah, two ends of the stick, but it's still one stick. Amarnath, nobody has no mind at all the times. Nobody has no mind at all the times. For functioning appears to have is there for all. Functioning appears to have is there for all. Nobody has no mind at all times. Yeah, there is nobody to have mind or no mind.
Well, what is the functioning? It's the absolute that vibrates and forms a pattern, shapes and forms of everything.
Yeah.
All the so-called persons or beings in it are Maya, are illusory patterns. It's only the one essence.
Yeah, so if you start from the fact that there is no one there, and just the content, just the vibration, sometimes they are thoughts, sometimes they are no thoughts, sometimes they are feelings functioning, but no one really has them. It's just what shows up. Jai Bob Ananda, says Scott. And Tanya, intelligence energy is primary, before any thoughts. That is all there is. So what I am cannot be the body or mind. Thought. Wow. Exactly. I think we've been on this one. What I don't have to know. Okay. I know that I don't have to know that I don't know if I know or don't know. I don't even know if know what I don't know, and I don't know. So ultimately I know and don't know completely each other, and always knowing of knowing and not knowing is the background of all knowing and unknowing. Yeah. And Heyman says, Julia says, there is a lot of knowing for someone who doesn't know. And there is no one to know or not to know. That's it. Yeah, and it ultimately doesn't matter. It's like a verbal masturbation. It's really just what is. That which is never dies. We've been here. Yeah, it's... Don't know. It says that there are new comments and I can't see them. Aha, okay, they're showing up in this order now. There is no creation, no creature and no creator. We've seen this one. I'll better check the other one. Get it? Oh, we have Stanley. Consciousness is not about feeling, thought and human concept. Consciousness is not about feeling, thought and human concept.
Consciousness appears and not awareness.
Yes.
Are you unconscious?
No.
No, but what can you say what it is? You can't.
No. This is all there is, and it is unknowable, says Dana. It's real and unreal, but it is unknowable. Yes, don't even try to grasp it. That's the best way. Yep. It's Amarnath replying to Dana. Exactly, but beyond knowing, unknowing, or real and unreal, all are concepts. Yep.
Who wants to know?
That's it, yes. Okay, so we have Dana says there is no beyond, this is all there is, but it is unknowable. And Tanya, it is only a thought that says there is needing to know. Yes. Amarnath, sexuality pattern, last to go. Any take on this? Thought is not there, appears to be. Though is not there, appears to be. Any thoughts on this?
On what?
On sexuality as the pattern that is last to go?
Sexuality is just a natural urge to produce more life. We put it in the mind and conceptualise about it all day and all night and all the rest of it. It becomes overwhelming. But in most animals it's seasonal.
Yeah.
You have two dogs, a dog and a bitch be lying together for weeks and not think anything about it. But suddenly the female will come into heat and there'll be animals come from everywhere. Dogs.
Yes.
That she didn't deliberately think it up, I'm going to come in and that.
Yeah.
But we've got it in front of us all the time and lost, as natural just has gone out the window.
Yeah. And the problem with sexuality is that we think it's a problem. We have all sorts of different concepts about it and social guidances about it and religions which are trying to control sexuality by forbidding or restricting it in order to control people somehow or use it as a sin or something hellish. So the concepts around sexuality are the problem. Sexuality usually, unless of course there is some mental illness and there is some addiction that causes suffering or is dangerous for the body, but then again life resolves it because life usually finds a way to medicate or to correct itself, if there is no thinking process that somehow obstruct that, it's like a water in the nature. It always finds the easiest way. It always evens itself up. So if there is an error, there's a correction. If there is no conceptual obstacle in a way of having too much story about it. I mean, what a way to repress people, or even to control and manipulate. Like Bob says, now you switch on the TV and it's all about sex. It's all about bikinis and creams and naked skin and curved bodies and beer, everything. I mean, I don't really know. I only see the TV when I have to see a client and it's on. We don't really switch on the TV. We choose what we watch. I mean, we're not choosing the lives doing so. But even the advertisements on the street create that thought pattern, that obsession in people that is, it doesn't show up in nature, in other animals and creatures, to the extent it shows up for us. But usually, if it is a problem, the correction is already there. The solution is already there. If you just stop thinking and is it a last pattern to go? Sexuality pattern last to go. Well, I think the last one is breathing or heartbeat. But yes, it is a strong pattern. It is a strong survival pattern. I think Freud was saying that there are only two instincts. Sexual instinct is the instinct for life, and the aggression is an instinct for death. So if you're prolific, you want to engage in some pleasures, and sexual pleasure is an example, or aggression is the other end of the stick. But that's only his concept or model. Yeah, it exists in nature. It has its function.
Yeah.
In humans, it has more than a procreative function because of the intelligence that gave us some sort of a birth control. So it may have a function of bonding or releasing stress or lots of other functions. Or it may also be a dysfunction. I mean, that's a concept. See if there's anything else. Otherwise, we'll have to just wrap it up because there won't be anything to talk about. Yeah, so Jesse they say memory is the second to last thing to go. I forget what is the first one. I think it's hearing. You can hear even when you go to coma, when you go to anesthetics. The hearing is the last to go, but you're still breathing. Depends on the definition of the pattern. Felicity, I'm still very new here. Is there any point trying to discuss these truths with others, or just try to see them alone? Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, Felicity, is it a point to actually brainstorm about it in a group, or you have to actually see for yourself? Again, it depends on the pattern, and I would do both.
Oh. See what you open up to.
Yes, like Bob needed to show up at Nisargadatta's because the pointing, the energy, the frequency of the pointing actually really helped to shift. For the same reason I needed Bob. And there are people who don't need anyone. They just open up. The mind opens.
When I came back, I wanted to talk about it, It spontaneously came out. People said, did the Sargadatta tell you to talk or ask you to talk? I said, no, and if he told me not to talk, he couldn't have stopped it.
Yes.
Because you want to shout it from the housetops. I want everyone to know, but then that soon quietens down when you realise that not everybody's wants to hear it.
Yes.
So you don't.
But then there'll always be somebody who'll come along that'll recognise it or resonate with it, see something in you that they want to know. It balances itself out like everything else.
Yeah, it works itself out. So if life brings you to the deep contemplation in which is just the mind is quiet and recognition happens, that's appropriate. If the mind brings you to the group where people actually share their own insights, that's, it's all to be credited to life. Trust life.
I have people come here and they've got to go on to thousands of other people elsewhere, close to their home, or gone anywhere at all. Why do they choose to come to this point?
Yeah.
And it's not everyone. And a lot will move away from here too. They
Yes.
won't come.
Mm-hmm.
So it balances itself out.
Julia has, I find it fascinating that a kangaroo can voluntarily halt pregnancy during a drought. If humans stop a pregnancy, it is murder to some. Yeah, nature is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, the kangaroo's got one in the pouch, one on the way, and I think
She says
one waiting.
because she says the kangaroo can voluntarily halt a pregnancy, and in the next sentence she says, I know the kangaroo is not choosing either. No, it's the of course is the nature doing it through it. Brett, greeting Bob and Kat. My knowledge is growing by untying the knot of not knowing. What a fantastic talk today. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, we've been here. I'll check if there is anything new appearing. Julia says, I know the kangaroo is not choosing either, and Megan says he's joking. He's joking. And John David, love ya Bob, love ya Kat, always happy to end my work week listening to you. Battery is recharged.
Who's that?
And John David. And thank you, John David. You always, he's always sending us a little donation, which is so highly appreciated. Never seen him not doing it. And we do really appreciate it. And it's nice to have you here and see your contribution and your comments and feel your love. And Julia says, coming to you was the best thing I ever did. I love you all. Thank you for this morning. I see we have all the thank you messages, so I think, Bob, that's the time for us to say... Julia's ordering everyone to send donations. You are a darling, Julia. We love you. Nobody's gonna beat what you've done for us. And Amarnath, good exposing who I am either with sage or nature's silence. Exposing who I am, who am I either with sage or nature's silence? And Jane says, thank you for this morning, Bob and Kat. The listening is beautiful. Love you both. We love you too, Jane.
Yes, Jane.
And Chris says, thank you. Dana says, thank you. Jessie. Not many can understand this way of seeing. Sharing my arise, it may or not be understood or appreciated. Always nice to talk with those who get it. Rohan says, thank you. And Tanya says, thank you so much. All the pointers are just wonderful and perfect. So much peace, love and joy knowing it is all impersonal. And Mukti says, donate via the website. I can never thank you enough, says Julia. Where do we send? Oh yeah, that was Dale asking and Mukti replied. And more thank you messages. And Julia posted a link to the website. Oh, now I just got refreshment. Yes, so there's more thank you messages, and thank you everyone. And I just wanted to highlight, and because this was beautiful, what gosh, I think that was Jessie who said it, that it's just nice to be around people who can understand that language, because, well, it's a tiny niche to be in the non-duality circle or circus. And not many people understand that language. Maybe it is changing now with the internet. But it's still a tiny sangha always. It's not like, yeah.
Yes, well,
Mm-hmm.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you for your well wishes. And thank you for your sharing.
Yes, and your
And
love.
don't forget, you are already that. Whether you realise it or recognise it or not, you still are that.
Yeah, it's nothing else. Everything's that. You
Yeah.
could not possibly be excluded. Like, how come?
Love you.
I love you.